Will your mouse battery die or something?
My mouse will not go to my other screen.
Well, we'll see if we can get that solved or give you a minute or so while we see if people start logging in. Let's make sure I got. Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna have.
got my notification on my Apple Watch.
How in the heck am I gonna fix this dysfunctional mouse? Oh my goodness. Maybe the solution can be found in Bossier City. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe you should have had a good contract with your mouse or something. Who knows? All
You
right.
mean, you mean like a working day contract, or you mean
Yeah.
like yeah, probably working day? I mean, I don't know contracts.
Here a
Sure have been
contract.
looking at a lot of contracts lately, right?
Yeah, here a contract, there a contract. Speaking of that, we've got about 18, 19 people that have logged in so far. So we're going to give it a minute or so while we sit here and chatter a little bit, and we'll do our countdown and begin our show. Let's see. I guess we should probably share some of this out. Well, I guess we can do that while we're doing the countdown.
Yeah, we'll do the timeout. So we're gonna take a trip around Cypress Black Bayou and the bridge. I mean, today in Bentontown happenings, there was a lot of commentary about the Cypress Black Bayou Bridge.
Yep.
And interestingly, I'm pretty confident beyond the politicos, we've got quite a bit of information on that subject. I don't know how far we're going to go on it, but we've got information I know nobody else has, and probably a lot of our viewers are going to be maybe a little surprised to say the
Mm-hmm.
least. And then Walter O. Bigby Carriageway, the gift that just keeps on giving.
Yes, it does. It is like a never-ending, well, like the never-ending story, except it's not Atreyu writing that magical thing or whatever he was. I forgot.
Yeah, and if folks watching, if you know any of the Bossier City politicians, meaning the councilman or the mayor, maybe you tag them tonight because I think probably this show tonight's going to be of interest to them and potentially could be the subject of a conversation at one of the next council meetings.
I think you are very correct about that. So why don't we go ahead and let's do our 2.5 minute countdown as folks continue to pile in. We've got about 28, 29 people coming in. All right, so we're going to go to our countdown, folks. Y'all tag some friends. Yep, tag the mayor, Ashley, tag everybody because we're going to share some information that I would argue most, if not all of them, have not seen. And we will be back in about 2.5 minutes.
You're kidding me. You're not on the Benton chicken swap page?
No, I am not on the Benton Chicken Swap page. I don't think I've ever heard. Is there really a Benton Chicken Swap page?
There is a Benton chicken swap. I am on it, and people like you can get chickens and roosters and all kinds of stuff. Farm animals. I mean,
I'm not the guy that raises animals. I'm the guy that shoots animals and then eats them.
well, well, no. I mean, but like if you get chickens and like you feed them and they ain't producing, I mean, you can eat them too. But you can go and get all these chickens off of the Benton chicken swap page. I've been on it
There,
for a
there
long
are
time.
there are three places I get chicken from:
Oh, okay.
Ca-
See, you're
Cane's, Popeyes, or Southern Classic. Not necessarily in that order.
look, you are an outcast because look, Kaylee Larkin, she says I'm on it. So you got to get hip with the times, brother. I mean, you need to get your tech up to par.
Apparently so. The way our city and parish and the way the country's going, maybe I do need to raise some chickens. Hey, I got something to show you tonight. In the spirit of Christmas, watch this. Whoops, we have lights. And wait, there's more. They blink.
Merry Christmas. How about
Yeah.
that?
Merry
We're
Christmas.
getting into the cheer already.
Yeah, even though we got one more show before Christmas, and I got to give a hat tip out to one of the guys in the Facebook group for the software that we use. Shared this out with people that are using it, so I can't take credit for creating the lights. I just got them plugged into the show, so we'll have a little Christmas spirit tonight.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. We're going to have to be figuring out a cockroach of the week here pretty soon. We haven't had one in quite a while, and I'm just wondering, how does a cockroach react with Christmas lights? Do they like go from the blue to the orange to the green to the purple? How does that work?
Well, usually when you shine the light on something, all the roaches tend to scurry. But, of course, in our case, sometimes being cockroach of the week can be in a positive context. So, yeah, we'll save that as our Christmas gift to somebody coming up here pretty quick.
Ashley Bullock says, I don't think we can have chickens in Bossier City. Well,
Probably
I will
not.
say
There's
this.
probably a code against it, I'm sure.
I know people who have had chickens in Bossier City and people who could have chickens in Bossier City. Rex, I think you could have chickens in Bossier City.
Well, maybe. It just depends on those pesky neighbors of mine kind of around behind us. And well, anyway, that's a whole other story. Let's just say my neighbors behind me don't like bonfires.
Yeah. So I hear. So who wants to know a little bit about what's going on in Bossier City and with the Cypress District and the bridge up there? I'm wondering if anybody cares about any of that, or since the council's done decided to close Shed Road and move on, maybe throw in the towel and it's over, and the oldest road in Bossier City, nothing we can do. Just have to give it up. Move on.
Well, I've got to give a little, since I'm giving kudos out for Christmas lights and all that, I've got to give a little credit out to you this week because you have done the lion's share of reading through endless legal jargon in contracts. Actually, you had to read more than one page this time, and you've got some information that we're going to be looking further into the Cypress District. So we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. Not necessarily that we're going to share all of that tonight. Charles Rawson looks like tried to tag in David Montgomery. He says David Montgomery should be the cockroach. David's been kind of quiet. King David has. But anyway.
I would argue his, lack of commentary has probably been to his benefit. I think he's had a good look.
Yeah, I would agree. He's hadn't made the cover of the Inquisitor or anything like that. Well, I take that back. Friday, he was on the cover of the Inquisitor. Was it him or was it Jacobs? It's so hard to keep track of those two.
I don't know. I didn't get it. I didn't see it. I don't know. Hey, Barbara Murray, glad you're watching. And let's see. And you already pointed out Charles Rawson. That's good to see Charles. But
And also, I guess we need to give a shout out to Mr. Hammonds, who won the District 1 City Council race by, what was it, about 10 points, something like that. Turnout was a
I think
little
it was.
low, but pretty good for District 1. I mean, all things considered around the rest of the state.
It was. I think Hammonds won 140, 150 votes, and I got to tell you, it was kind of what I expected. I didn't really have a surprise out of that because given the demographics of party affiliation, I mean, I would almost argue that those numbers were predictable.
Yeah, they were, and I'd like to, kind of congratulate both candidates, both Brian and Mr. Lombardino, for running a relatively clean race. They didn't really try to drag each other through the gutter. Now, I gotta say, there was a whisper campaign going on, and I'm not going to mention any of the specifics or details of that, at least not on this show, but I need to reach out, or let me just send a message to the ones who were sending out some of that. It was very obvious who sent it. Y'all need to send stuff out earlier next time, not, a few days before, and make sure you vet your information a little bit better and make it relevant to politics. I don't care what somebody does in their personal life, at least as far as Bossier Watch goes. We typically don't fool with topics or things unless it's relevant to politics around the area. There's got to be some kind of tie in there. So.
Well, now, Rex, you and I have had this debate, and the folks watching, they're probably wondering, well, what is it that you're talking about? Well, some of the information that we talked about, there was, like Rex said, a whisper campaign that was going on. And typically when there's a whisper campaign, there's dirt on a candidate or candidates that's kind of being shopped around and put around with the intent of it affecting your vote and trying to get you to vote one way or the other for a particular reason. Now, the interesting thing, and what Rex is pointing out here, is that in citing the timing, it would imply that whoever was doing this whisper campaign was seeking to steer things, but their Rex was correct in pointing out that their timing was incorrect, which Rex raises my dander and makes me say, okay, well, the intent of that, the timing was wrong. You and I both know that, but I would argue that the content, I don't know that that was amateurish. And somebody with enough skill to do it the way they did it, it almost makes me think that they had another purpose.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole, but let's just say having done those sorts of things in the past with campaigns, it was pretty obvious who did it. And you're right, I'm not going to say it was amateur looking, but that was on purpose. It was
Exactly.
professionally done to look amateurish, but the problem was timing, and number two, the content. The one deal about the movie scene, I don't care one way or the other about that, really. And
Yeah,
I
but
don't
the
think
point,
I don't think most of the voters in District 1 would have cared about that either. So, you know, it
yeah,
is what
either
it is.
way, it is what it is, and either way, but
All
hey,
right.
we are going to find out the will and intent of that whisper campaign, and we are going to report back to everybody on this show. We have a plan, right?
Yes, first there was a plan. Oh, and speaking of salacious stuff, now I don't want to go all Jerry Springer or anything. And speaking of a plan, so we mentioned the Cypress District a few minutes ago, and we've got to dig into it some more, folks, and all that, but we do have some first-hand information on some shenanigans, my favorite word, shenanigans, going on out at Cypress Lake.
Now you call it shenanigans. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what a shenanigan was. I mean, originally, I'm kind of a Halton. I was born in Bossier City, and from Halton, I mean, we had other words that we used for things that I'm thinking is a shenanigan. What exactly is a shenanigan?
Well, it's mischief. Think of it. Think of it like the little Irish. Well, I'm just having a complete mental breakdown at the moment. The little Irish guy at the end of the rainbow. Little shenanigans, little things like that, getting into mischief, and
Okay.
sometimes those shenanigans can be dishonest or secret. So we'll
Oh,
see
wait a
how it
minute.
goes.
We say Cypress Black Bayou and Mark Smith chimes in. How about that?
We must have said the word Cypress 3 times. It's the Beetlejuice
Holy
effect
crap.
again. Yeah, welcome back, mysterious Mark Smith. Hey,
That's an
is it just me or is the fly on the other side now?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I can't see that. I'm not going to look. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. That's the right. That's the right side.
Well, I know it's the right side, but maybe I'm seeing things. Anyway, so yeah, we've got some more information to share coming up in an episode or two on the Cypress District, and I believe that we have a special guest lined up for next week.
Oh yeah, Rex. I was going to ask you and kind of tease it a little bit, but I mean, these special guests with information on the Cypress District, maybe firsthand witness to activities out there. I was going to prompt this and say, when you classify shenanigans, firsthand information on shenanigans, are we talking criminal? Are we talking? What are we talking about?
We'll have to see, but based on some information that we've received, it could lead into that. But we'll just have to end up seeing where it goes, and once we have a guest on, see how credible some of this is. But there's a lot of information, and we hadn't really talked about Cypress that much. They have been relatively quiet for the last month or two. And by the way, I've got to send off and get their financials so we can see how much they're running it in the ground in the last 4 or 5 months. But anyway, so we got more to share on Cypress. Tag your Cypress friends and let everybody know.
It's almost as if they're trying to run it in the ground on purpose.
Maybe
It's almost as if.
It's almost as if they might want to build subdivisions out there, which I've actually advocated for in the past.
Now, my wife is texting me to be politically correct. I wonder if everyone watching, do you think I should be politically correct?
Or should we just be brutally honest? Like we
Or brutally
usually
honest? Or,
Yeah, unless we're teasing
yeah,
something out, but we're usually pretty
I mean,
pretty blown about it.
Rex, tell me, those professional guys that do media and crap like this or whatever, that get paid to do this for a living, do they eat chips on TV and do they drink their coffee or tea out of their cups while they're doing a show?
Well, some of them do, and I gotta let's go there for a minute, and then we'll move on, and we'll get into this contract.
It's almost
deal
as if they're not comfortable in their skin.
Yeah, it is. But here's the other thing: a lot of those, a lot of those, a lot of those folks, they stick with the mainstream stuff. I hate to say it, but a lot of the radio shows and TV shows around, they're just regurgitating the national news and media, and we tend to stay away from that. We want to report what's going on around here with obviously our spin and our opinion on it and how it relates to Bossier Parish or Bossier politics. And so, we're not going to go out there and ambulance chase and do those sorts of things. And, we have never advocated that we are any part of the news. We are amateur journalists, and we give our spin and feedback all the time.
Okay, so as what's that guy down there? Ben in Bossier, Ben
Ruttenbuck?
Ruttenbuck. As Ben Ruttenbuck, the engineer for the city of Bossier, says, we have flogged that horse long enough. So, Rex, I want you to go to a cut. We're going to kind of go off script just a little bit here. I want you to go to, not that we're completely scripted. We're not. Obviously, we're not making this crap up. It's Christmas. We got lights flashing.
How about off notes?
Yeah, off notes. In the files that I got for you prompted, a copy of REHO 13129. It's second from the bottom.
Well, yeah, but I got it sorted differently. But yeah, it's a PDF copy of RE blah, blah, blah. So you want me to bring that one up?
Yeah, let's bring that up because we told everybody that we're going to get on this Cypress District stuff, and we told everybody, we shared with them that we've got, scroll down to the bottom. Keep
All right.
going down to the
Yeah.
bottom. We told
All
them
right.
we was going to give them a piece of what we're working on everything on Cypress, and let's go in and give them something.
All right. So this is the bottom of that page here, or page 2?
Uh, Page 2, I guess, of that document.
Okay. So
Yes,
let's go
because
to
we got to
page
get to
2.
the start of it.
Yeah. Here we go. Right in here.
Right there. And there you go from, as you know, the Cypress Black Bayou Bridge. You know, that is a DOTD project. The parish had, a ton of input on it. And the reason I bring all this up is in a previous show, Rex, you remember we kind of went over, remember we called it the race.
Mm-hmm.
And as you recall, in Caddo Parish had a bridge that was the exact same span as this bridge over Black Bayou.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it started 1 week earlier than this bridge started.
Right.
And well, they've been finished for months. I done lost track of how many months it's been since that bridge was completed.
Well, it
But
apparently started 1 week earlier and finished 1 year earlier, because it's already complete.
yeah, well, here's the thing. We're talking about the difference in completion dates. Well, I got to tell you, at this point, I don't know that we're going to be able to completely say how long it's going to be. I mean, we may be talking one of these infinity situations. And and the only reason I bring this up, we've been working on this project, but today in Bentontown happenings,
Mm-hmm.
there was a ton of people were asking for updates and talking about the bridge and what's any updates or what do they know and what's going
Right.
on. And for those of you that don't live in uh, North Bossier or have to cross that bridge, you got to understand, folks, it is a burden having to drive north, catch 157, drive back to the town of Benton, and then Benton Road to get into Bossier, and then you got to fight Benton Road traffic just to get into Bossier City.
Right.
So now people have been asking about the bridge and the project and stuff. So here's a little something right here. And builder supply material shortages. And
Please see attached letter from our concrete supplier for this project, builder supply. And this is, let's see, what's the date of this email? Well, I don't see a date on it, but I'm
you got to
guessing
go back up to the previous page.
Yeah, page 1. Let's see.
It's going to have been in August of this year.
Yeah, August the 9th.
August 9th, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the what I'm worried about here for the folks, and remember us talking about the decision and whoever made the decision to make this project cast in place versus precast. Remember that?
Yeah, we had that discussion, I don't know, a dozen or more shows ago, I think. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And when we talked about the Caddo Parish, they had, I think it was 14 spans, or I can't remember exactly the spans, but the dimensions were the same. And Caddo did that project, which was the exact same span. They did it as a precast job, right? But
Right.
this bridge was done as a cast in place. And what that means is that they're going to have to literally have the concrete trucks come to the location and they literally pour it at the site. So
Well,
now,
now
given, go
let,
ahead.
let me stop there, and so you may or may not know. I'm going to ask the question. We'll see. But so I'm assuming they build some kind of molds there or something to pour the concrete in, and then move the concrete pilings or whatever out into the water wherever they're going to drive them in, or do we know if this is like they build all that structure out over the water and pour them in? Any idea for people who are watching?
Oh,
The progress.
okay. So now what we're talking about, you got to understand the piers. They're precast. They're poured at a company. They're ordered ahead of time. They're poured and built at a location. Then they're delivered to the location, the piers, and drove in. Now, the decking, the thing that you ride on, your car rolls across, you can get that precast as well. And then on the Caddo in the race that we were talking about, right there. Brian Warner,
Mm-hmm.
F&S Precast is just south of Benton on 157 in Halton.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So the thing is, Caddo on the race, the jobs and the comparables that we were drawing to them, they ordered their job precast. So probably, I don't know, F&S Precast may have even done that. Well, their bridge is open, people are running across it already.
Yeah.
But this job, for some reason, was ordered to be cast in place, which means when they get to the point of doing that part, they got to literally have the trucks coming out and pouring the concrete in place and doing it. Now, I'm not saying the project's going to be any slower, any faster. I'm not laying any blame, saying the state or the police jury is at fault or even that there's a problem. But what I am saying is that this email, and I think this is the bottom part, but if you scroll up, there's a little bit more detail, maybe back to the original first page of it. You'll see that Builder Supply has a problem with the concrete.
Yeah, let's see. I was trying to
And
find the wording.
you're seeing the discussion here with Eric Hudson with the
Right.
Bossier Parish Police Jury. What is the state doing to mitigate this?
Mm-hmm.
Is Red River Ready Mix having issues? He's throwing out there, maybe we should consider talking to somebody else about whether or not, how to get concrete. Now, what I will tell you, and to the folks watching that care about this project and that's of interest to you, especially, I mean, there was a ton of people on Benton Town Happenings talking about this.
Yes, there were.
I mean, there was a lot. And kind of to cut to the chase and give y'all a little bit more inside, the problem wasn't cement. The problem was fly ash.
Getting one of the materials for the concrete, right?
All right. So a lot of people may not realize this, but when you pour concrete, they discovered that you can put fly ash within the cement. It'll make it harden harder and faster if you mix a percentage. And you got to understand, when you mix concrete, it's almost like a recipe for making a dish.
Right.
There's recipes for concrete and cement, and there are recipes utilizing fly ash to make the concrete harder. Well, the problem is fly ash, you only get it from burning coal and certain stuff, and there's a certain type of ash that you get from the power plants. Well, there's only so much ash that can come out of these plants. Well, I think what the problem became was that there was a limited amount of ash, and the ash started, running short.
Supply chain shortage, so to
Supply
speak.
chain shortage. Yeah. So what happens in this situation? You have to come up with an alternative recipe. And that recipe, the problem is that recipe has to be approved and proven to be able to meet the standards and specs that have been laid out for the construction of this project. And there has to be tests. Don't get me wrong, Builder Supply and all those folks, they're professionals. Carlton Golden, I mean, they know what they're doing. But you're talking about problems. Now, this was in August. This may be totally resolved by now, but people are wanting to know a little bit. We're giving them a little bit of information.
Yeah, because there's been a ton, like you said, the Benton Town Happenings page and other places on Facebook. There's been a lot of discussion over the delays, or at least apparent delays. I hate to say that because they've got until what, January, February 2022, I think is the, or no. Was it 2023? I'm sorry. So next year will be 2022. So they've got like a whole nother year to finish this project. Isn't that about correct?
Well, this isn't a working day contract like Bossier City.
Oh.
This is a regular contract in which, I think that's probably far enough into all of this that we have went. But and probably there's going to be some people in Benton that are going to be wondering, where did they get my email right there with my email on there? How did they get that? Where's that coming from? Because I didn't give that to them. And then what else do they have? Again, we're not saying that anybody did anything wrong, but what I will say to anybody that's concerned about that bridge, Rex, next show, we're going to do a deep dive into this, barring any outburst in Bossier City at the council meeting.
Well, there might be after the show tonight. No telling
There
on
might
that.
be.
Okay, so that's our update on the Linton Rd Bridge. They are apparently making some more progress, but we're showing here's one of the reasons that the project at least seemed to be falling behind at some point that a lot of people were griping about. But again, most of the people that are griping or asking, we're not construction guys, we're not bridge construction guys, we're not certified engineers, anything like that. We're just Facebook engineers and Google engineers. So anyway, here's one of the reasons for sure.
Without a doubt. So, Shed Road, the oldest road in Bossier City, and the Walter O. Bigby carriageway. How many folks out there are all excited about the Walter O. Bigby carriageway?
And are we going to hear crickets going here? Let's see. There's our crickets again.
How many people are all excited about that? I mean, man, wait a minute. I still can't get it right. One of our former elected politicians, he said, if wait a minute, well, how did he say it? He said, if that don't get your fire going, your kindling's dry or wet. How does he say it? Thank God, I can never do that. See, that's why I'm not a politician, because I can't do those little things to make people think I'm cool.
Yeah, there's some politicians that they just got it and they can rattle that stuff off and not even bat an eye. Okay, so that kind of moves us into the next two topics. So we're pretty much done with the Cypress District / Linton Bridge update. So let me check that off. And now let's get into this contract deal. And I have the number 59 out beside that. Now, I think I've got the correct number there, Duke. Do you know the significance of that number?
I got to tell you, I'm sitting here scratching my head because you got an alternative set of notes that you're saying 59. So I'm just like everybody out there watching. I don't know what the heck we're fixing to talk about 59.
Well, if you remember a few shows back, we requested the contract for phase 2 of the Walter O. Bigby carriageway from the custodian of records, the city attorney, and he sent us the contract, right?
Zamboni driver number 1.
Yeah, the problem was that contract was 1 page, which we showed it to everybody, kind of knowing that wasn't the whole kit and caboodle, as they say. So
we know, and we portrayed it in a way so that we would get a response, and we did.
Yes, and we did. And that response, which I'm going to pull up here in hopefully about 20 seconds, that response led to, well, I'm going to try to do it a different way so I can maybe kind of highlight things if we need to. But that response that we did on the show led us to getting a copy that we believe is actually the full copy this time, of all things. And that copy happens to be 59 pages.
59 pages of a contract. But I think we might be putting the cart before the horse. And that 59-page contract that we were provided, that is supposed to be the complete, the whole full meal deal. We're going to put that up, right?
Yeah, we're going to post the entire contract, all 59 pages, on. Yes, you did get it right, Ashley Lee. Great job. Yeah, we're going to post that on Bossier Watch as its own post after the show, so that anybody can go through and look at the contract if you're interested in it.
Yeah, and so for those of you that really don't care about pouring through 59 pages, which is actually the number of people that I'm seeing watching on Facebook as we speak, that
How
doesn't
convenient.
that doesn't include YouTube and the other. I don't know. Anyway, but we got to preface this, and we're going to break this whole thing down. And I don't know, you guys. If you care about this deal, you're going to be mad, and if you're an elected official in Bossier, you might be mad too once you see what we're going to kind of pour out here, especially if you were told about penalties and monies and eight figures and whipping horses and all that crap. But Rex, before we go into all of that,
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to start out in a video, and we've got to remind everybody and show them some of the commentary and some of the things that were said at a council meeting.
Yes. Now, unfortunately, I did not get the video ready. Whoops. I did not get the video ready with the infinity comment because I've been behind today, but I
The
do have
infinity
it.
comment. What do you mean the infinity comment? Refresh everybody. What are you talking about?
Well, that would be the comment that, and boy, my software is not playing nicely again. That would be the comment that King David himself, no, I'm sorry, not King David. That would be the comment that Zamboni driver Charles Jacobs made, which was that this could cost any further delays. I'm paraphrasing only a little bit. Any further
Oh,
delays
yeah.
could cost us, to infinity.
To infinity and beyond.
Yes. All
Buzz
right.
Lightyear.
Yeah.
He
So,
did say it.
so just as a refresher to everybody, that's where the title of the show came from. Was from Zamboni Driver number 1, to infinity and
So
beyond. However, we've got another good
at the,
quote sitting here.
and at that point, I mean, I'm not sure exactly when that meeting was. That might have been in October. Maybe was it
It
early
was,
November, October?
yeah, it was a while back. I think it was like show 66, 67, so whatever time frame that was. So yeah, it was about 2 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, and so for everybody watching, I mean, you might have to pay close attention to this show and listen close at kind of what we're spilling out here and connect the dots. We're going to do the best we can to paint this picture here, but it's pretty significant.
Yeah,
So
it is. All right, so shall we go ahead and listen to Ben Rauschenbach?
let's let Ruttenbuck make the case.
Okay.
Any questions?
That was a good report there, man. Any questions, council?
I think we might be ahead right there.
If we don't close that crossing, how much will it cost the taxpayers of Bossier?
I figure somewhere in the 8 digits.
Okay,
8 digits, folks.
thank you, Ben.
Yes, sir.
So right there, old Ben Ruttenbuck, he acknowledged, and interestingly, Vince Maggio asked that question.
Yes, he did.
That is an amazing thing that Vince is the one that asked that question, and Ruttenbuck says it's going to cost 8 digits.
Which is, $10 million. I mean, I'm leaving off the change. I guess technically, if we put the decimal points there, that would be 8 digits, and we would be into the $999,000 realm. But I don't think that's the way Ruttenbuck meant it. He said 8 digits. That's 10 million.
Yeah, and I am dying to know where he comes up with that number. And I mean, he's standing there at the podium. I mean, when you report to a elected body like this, I think you're automatically under oath. So,
Well, personally, and for all the youngins out there, put your fingers in your ears for a second. Personally, I think he just pulled that number out of his ass. But to me, here's the interesting thing: is nobody questioned him on that.
I don't think he pulled that number just out of his. In fact, I think that number was probably a number that's been floating around a little bit. And interestingly, that Vince Maggio asked the question is interesting as well too. But I will say I want to jump to the 3253 mark, in which you may have it better on your screen because I am having screen dysfunctionality here tonight.
Yeah, not a problem. I can jump us right back over there. Okay,
But
should
I
be
wanted
right
to-
here.
Yeah, play that.
All right, let's play that. Here we go.
And on June 2nd, 2020, Ordinance 55 of 2020, Manchac is hired by the city to provide services for the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway project. And
Right there.
I'm
Right there.
All right. June 2nd of 2020, Manchac, they're in charge of the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway. They're the guys.
Right.
June 2nd of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. We're at a council meeting, and if we, by gosh, don't take action right here in November, we're talking about it's going to cost us 8 digits if we don't do it today.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So, as we have alluded to everyone, we've got copies of, and we believe them to be the whole contract, right?
Well, yeah, but I want to bring up one other point too. So again, putting on our thinking caps and going back in time a little bit, we had the whole soliloquy by Jacobs about, it could cost to infinity, and he gave his legal reasoning why it could cost the city so much money and blah, blah, blah. And I think a couple of councilmen at that particular meeting, or maybe this one, mentioned the additional cost. It's almost like they had a set of talking points, because you lead up to the question by Vince, which was the perfect opportunity for Ben to spit out $10 million. It's almost like they had a set of talking points to go by and basically a script.
Now, wait a minute. Was it a set of talking points, or did we have a high-achieving politician, Rex?
A high-achieving politician.
Well, wait a minute. Let me paint this for a second. If Vince had been sold or told that there was going to be this consequence if we didn't take this action, and then what if Vince took the position that, you know what, I'm going to get this on record of what exactly this consequence is. You following me here?
Well,
You and I ain't playing this. This ain't on. So I'm
No,
throwing
we're-
an idea out here at you.
yeah, not that we script anything, but we're off the reservation and off our set of notes here. So, I mean, there is that possibility, but I can't see it. But okay, so we'll give Vince the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was a setup.
We had a hypothesis. It was one of two things. It was one, either Vince was misled, or two, Vince was trying to find something to account for his vote, to be able to get out of it.
Well, there's where I would land, maybe. I don't know.
Well, but I think we were negligent in not considering all options. And what I'm saying is that maybe Vince's question here was smarter than what we may give credit for. Maybe he was trying to get it on record to document what he was told.
That's always a possibility. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Look, here. Look. All right.
Well, look, I'm going to tell you, if that's the case, if that is the case, I got to tell you, I am impressed.
Well, okay, so, but here's the thing. It's usually, what's that deal? Is it Occam's razor? The simplest solution is usually it. And I think the simplest solution is none of them did their homework. None of the councilmen that were originally not necessarily for closing down Shed Road, none of them did their homework and did not question any of this BS. And again, my standpoint is I don't care whether they close Shed Road or not. I mean, the historical value, I can understand, blah, blah. I don't care one way or the other. It's the way that they led up to the closing, which was all a bunch of BS. All right.
Yeah, but do you get what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying, and it is possible. It is plausible. It is possible.
Charles Rawson says trying to drag Vince in the swamp. No, we are not trying to drag
he waded
Vince
in
into the
himself.
swamp. He asked the question, which it by him asking that question, it raises questions. We knew before this meeting that and we talked about it in a previous show, that councilmen were told that there was going to be a $10 million penalty if they didn't take action that would have to be paid to JB James. And we're fixing to dig real deep into that, and what all the councilmen that may have been led to believe that, and what we're fixing to go into, and the citizens of Bossier, if your councilman was led to believe that and they went this direction, I think tomorrow morning there's going to be a lot of heartache over what's fixing to be said here. Right?
Yeah, and look, here's the thing, and we've said that we would call out any of the councilmen or the mayor or whatever, and generally we tout the good things that Chris Smith has done so far, and I think he's so far doing a great job doing what he's supposed to do, but he didn't call him out on this either. My first question would have been, Ben, where are you coming up with those numbers? Explain that to us. The contract's only 30-something million.
But it's never the first question. It's always the second question. And it seems like all the councilmen down there, and look, and I like those folks, but the first question is always good, but you never get the second question to close the deal.
Well, true, and there's another rule. Don't ask the question unless you already know the answer. And again, that's the problem, and why probably none of them asked the question.
So
they didn't know.
If y'all are catching on to our tune right here, you're fixing to get some information that I can tell you that there's councilmen watching, waiting on pins and needles at what we're fixing to drop, because they don't know any more than you watching this show right now know.
Right.
They don't know any better than you do. And that is a testament to the problem with a lot of this. Government gets too easy, it moves too fast, and it doesn't dot the I's and cross the T's. I hate to say that it becomes lazy, because I don't want to say that, because
government does what government is best at doing, taking something that should be relatively simple and making it the most complicated, expensive, bass-backwards way to do something that you could possibly imagine. And that's generally what government does. And this is a prime example.
It's a prime example. So, as we reported that, a lot of the council members were told, and it was stipulated that, there was this $10 million penalty. And I would argue that some people, we talked to some professionals, and they told us that, that sounds like to me some lingo that was told to the councilman to get them steered in a direction to move. Because again, we talked about that you got two choices. You either put the brakes on it or you stomp on the gas pedal to go as fast as possible.
True.
Obviously, without question, in Bossier City, it was stomp on the gas pedal. We're not going to even look at the stop sign, the red light, nothing. We're stomping on the gas pedal, and we ain't stopping for crap. That's what happened in Bossier. So,
all right, so moving down, let's see. Yep, we got the full contract. All right, shall we go ahead and go to cut one?
Go to cut one, and
let's see here. Let me close that out of the way, and let me bring up cut one. Hold on here.
So what we're going to show you here in cut one, as all of y'all know, we've been bulldogging on getting, the actual contract. First try, we got one document,
Right.
Then we griped a little bit on one of our shows. We got another couple of pages, and we squealed a little more. And well, today, here we are. We got a little bit more. And the reason that we're showing you this is we want to clarify. Here's from the city attorney. I mean, him and the mayor is actually the responsible party for documents. And the city attorney always acts on his behalf. Mm-hmm. And here's the response. Please be advised, a copy of the complete contract is available for pickup.
Right.
Now, Rex, was that our request?
No, actually that was not our request, because here's the thing. When they provide a copy of the documents requested, then they are legally authorized, they being any government entity, are legally authorized to charge a reasonable fee to reproduce those documents. And, that, depending on who the government entity is, that can run into quite a bit of money. Now, legally, they do have to provide the documents to be available for your review at no charge. All right.
Now,
So,
what did we request?
well, we requested. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember our exact wording, but we basically requested the full contract.
We requested to review the original contract.
To review it, not to get a copy of it.
Yeah, I mean, a copy's great, and I appreciate them printing, but I can print for a whole lot less than them. In fact,
Right.
I can print it all from the courthouse for less than what the city of Bossier asked for. So it begs the question too: what's the city of Bossier's angle here?
Well, yeah, it does, and they charge, what is it, $1 a page? Which, again, they're legally allowed to do, so I'm not saying they're doing anything underhanded, but, we could have gone up there and viewed the document and made our own copies.
Yeah, so Rex, it's my understanding I could have got a copy of these 59 pages at the courthouse for $35, but yet in Bossier City, it cost me $59.
$59, buck a page to print some paper. And look, I can tell you as a tech guy, that paper, because I'm sure they probably printed it on laser paper, the paper and the toner, and even if you throw in some labor, it cost, pennies a page. If they'd used inkjet, okay, you could run that cost up there, but anyway.
I'm telling you, there wasn't no laser paper. They probably used a Hewlett-Packard at best, and hell, I don't even think they're in business anymore.
Well, and here's the other thing too, and let me throw this out there. I got to say this while we're kind of on the roll here. A lot of times they'll say, "Yeah, but we had to pay an employee to go do that." You're paying the employees anyway. We didn't ask any employees to stay overtime. They're either getting paid hourly or they're on salary, one of the two. So that goes right out the window as well. But I digress.
Now,
At least we did get 59 pages.
We got 59 pages. That's an improvement. I mean, we have to assume that this is the full contract. I mean, in which the city attorney elaborated that this is the complete contract or full or whatever the words he uses.
And he really means it's the full one this time. He really, truly means it this time.
I think he means it. I mean, I have to assume that he means this is all of it, because I think that's the reason it happened, was because we made a issue of the fact that, we didn't ask for one page. We asked for the contract, all of it, not the wag the dog one page thing. We wanted the whole thing.
Right. Okay.
And then remember the Anon sent us the email and said, you didn't get everything.
Right.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, thanks, anonymous email person. We get lots of those a day. Okay, so what do we want to? Walk me through, because you put together the vast majority of these notes when you were scanning through this today, which, of course, we all, including me, certainly appreciate you doing all that work. What do we need to point out?
Now I'm going to throw out here for a second. Now, I don't know if everyone watching, 70, and I don't know how many on the other platforms are watching. How many of y'all, I'll ask a question for everybody watching, because I hate to say this, we've been neglectful of everybody watching. How many of y'all would assume that the city attorney would have a copy of this contract?
Me.
How many?
Me.
How many of y'all would just, you're thinking that, especially what was this, 34, 37, 27 million? I don't remember how many million dollars or so many million. I don't even remember. But you would assume that the city attorney would have a copy of this contract, right? Everything.
You would, and look, I gotta say, I guess I have to apologize to Zamboni guy Charles Jacobs, because I've said over and over and over that he doesn't read contracts, but apparently there's a reason he doesn't read the contracts.
Well, so interestingly, and I mean, I hate to throw anybody under the Zamboni, but I have it on good authority. I'm going to say it this way. See, I'm being politically correct. You guys can throw a rock at me, hit me with a rock, pelt me, but I got to do this because this was an unforced error if this was baseball. So I got to get on good authority that the city attorney's office didn't have this contract. They didn't have it.
Shocked. You're telling me the city attorney didn't have a copy of a 30 some odd million, whatever it is, dollar contract for the biggest project ever, or whatever.
They didn't have it. They did not have it, Rex. They didn't have it.
And they gave it to you printed, I guess, so he didn't even have a PDF copy? I mean, he could have just emailed it to us.
Well, I don't know all the inside ball and all that crap, but what I can tell you is they had to go to Man Shack to get a freaking copy of it. They didn't have it.
Wait, the chickens had to go to the hen house? Or no, the hens had to go to the fox den to go get the contract.
They had to go to Benton Chicken Swap to be able to get the answer to it. They had to.
Nice segue. Good job, Duke.
Yeah. So, I don't know which document you pulled up right there. If that is the complete 59-page contract,
that would be page
all through there.
Yeah, that would be page 1 of the complete contract. Shane Cheatham says, "Was it in Baton Rouge?" Ashley Lee Bullock says she's not surprised at all. And Russell says, "Are you kidding me?" No, we're not kidding. Okay. This is the instructions to the bidders, blah, blah, blah. And again, we're going to post all this after the show, folks, so y'all can peruse through this contract. It's public information.
And it's going to make your head hurt, but I promise you, we're dragging this out, but we're going to get through all of this and get to the meat of it. And you guys are going to be pissed off. And if you're a councilman in Bossier City, you're probably going to be pissed off even more because all of y'all are going to be pissed off at them. That's where this is going. In fact, we're sharing crap. I'm telling you, they don't know. Y'all are going to know it before they know, or you're going to know it at the same time because they're watching and we don't see them in the live stream, or I don't see them. Rex, you may see them, or somebody may see them.
No, and some of them can watch. You can watch on we're on YouTube, so you can search Bossier Watch one word on YouTube till I get us a channel URL, and you can watch YouTube completely anonymously because you don't have to sign in. All right, now, so I'm down here. This is I don't even know. This is their sales tax exemption certificate, blah, blah, blah. I guess this is general stuff for contracting with the city or government entities and all that.
Yeah, so that's the full contract. You're scrolling through everything, 59 pages. If y'all want to go peruse through all that, knock yourself out. You're welcome. Let's jump off of that. Let's get to cut 2. Okay. And let's get down into the nitty-gritty.
All right, so give me a second here. Let me get over here to cut 2. Let's get that out of the way. Let me do that, and now let's push that live, and presto, cut number 2. All right. Instructions to bidders.
So in the original contract and in the 59 documents, it included the instructions to bidders. Now, this very right out of the gate, right here in the beginning, this is important. So everybody watching, if you care about the oldest road in Bossier City, if you care about the actions of the city council, and if you care about Bossier City, you're going to pay attention to this. And in that 1.2 section right there of the contract, this is one of the pages of the contract, it says, the specs and contract requirements shall be per the 2016 edition of the Louisiana DOTD standard specs for road and bridges. Any reference to the state of Louisiana shall be deemed to mean the city of Bossier City. This is a city project and not a DOTD project. Specs or contract requirements of the 2016 edition can only be changed via addendum. Okay. I would point out, Rex, that we received no addendums attached to the contract that we received. And correct. We were told, and we showed it earlier from the city attorney, that we got everything. right?
Correct. Yep.
He
This
put it
time.
in email. We showed it to everybody. This time we got everything.
According
Now,
to the city attorney.
according to the city attorney.
Okay.
So, if we got the full contract and it's pointing to the specs and the contract requirements and the DOTD standards, that would say that if there's a $10 million, penalty or whatever that maybe councilmen were told to get them to move to shut down Shed Road, you would think that probably that would be in the documentation, right?
You would think so. He did specifically say $10 million, 8 figures.
And if there was any changes, if it's not in the DOTD, 2016 DOTD, it would be by addendum, and that should have been included. If we've got everything, that should be included, right?
Correct. All
right. So let's
Cut
go
3?
to cut 3. Yep. Go to cut 3.
Let's bring that
We're
up.
going to roll on through all this.
Zoom it in here. You want me to read this one for you?
Knock it out.
All right. Yeah, and for those of you that are listening to the audio version once published, this is cut number 3. Anyway, it's basically the second page of the contract, and it says in number 4.6, the lands upon which the work is performed, right-of-ways and servitudes for access thereto, and other lands designated for use by contractor in performing the work are identified in the contract documents. All additional lands and access thereto required for temporary construction facilities or storage of materials and equipment are to be provided by by a contractor. Easements for permanent structures or permanent changes in existing structures are to be obtained and paid for by owner unless otherwise provided in the contract documents. Changes in existing structures, permanent changes, buzzwords.
Now, the key takeaway here in this document, right out of the gate, is the easements for permanent changes and all that blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Another reason I wanted to point that out, remember Ruttenbuck, June 2nd, 2020.
Right.
Well, what's that date right there up at the top for the bid?
March 2021.
Now, Ruttenbuck was in charge, right?
Ruttenbuck was in charge at that point.
June 2nd, 2020. 2020.
Mm-hmm. So this
His
is
own word.
a year and a few months later. Well, let's see. No, not quite a year. 9 months later. Sorry.
And we're talking about easements and whose responsibility. Okay, let's roll along. Let's get to cut 4.
All right, so let me get this one out of the way. And let's drag cut 4 over here. My mouse is not moving quickly this evening. Let me zoom it up a little bit. So this is section 7.3, contract time. Work on this project shall begin no later than 10 calendar days after the date to begin work as stipulated in the notice to proceed. Failure to start construction within the 10 days within the 10-day grace period and or conduct the work in such a manner or with sufficient materials, equipment, and labor necessary to ensure completion within the contract time may be first cause for default of the contract.
Now, I would ask, how many people that run up and down Bent Road or cut through on Shed Road, how much materials and equipment have y'all seen? I'm just asking everybody that, watches our show, that lives in Bossier, that goes down Benton Road. I mean, what all have y'all seen? And if you cut down Shed Road, what all have you seen? Have you seen equipment? Have you seen building supplies? Have y'all seen all that? I mean, I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it's not there, but I haven't seen it. But if anybody has seen it, I'm asking you to show me or tell me about all the equipment and supplies. Have y'all seen it?
Ashley Lee says she saw a road work ahead sign today. Where did you see that, Ashley Lee? That's the important question.
Well, that's got to be worth $1 million right there.
Exactly.
I mean, we're on our way.
Yeah. Patrick Larkin says that's going to be a no for him.
All right, and y'all are asking, why are we asking these stupid rhetorical questions? But we're getting there. So cut 5, Rex. We're going to move on through these pretty fast.
All right, so cut 5 coming up. Let's see. And let's see, I guess we want the highlighted area. Ooh, that's a little small. Let's see if we can read this.
Yeah.
All right, so this is question number 6 out of this. It says, have you personally inspected the site of the proposed work? Answer is yes. Describe any anticipated problems with the site and your proposed solutions. And again, this is the contract for the contractor to answer. And the answer is, number 1, bridge has limited access due to levees and railroad right-of-way. Is that limits? Anyway, proposed solution is bridge installation to start at railroad cross span and work outwards from this location. I think I got that read correctly.
That's right. So that was a questionnaire to all the bidders originally. And interestingly, the person who won the bid points out the easement issues pertaining to the levee and the railroad right there out of the gate.
Yeah.
Now, again, this was in 2021. Manchac was put in charge when? June 2nd, 2020. All right.
All right, and again, folks, we'll have all the pages of this posted up on Bossier Watch after the show, and so the small print, all that you can look for yourself if you need to. All right, so moving on to what are we on? Cut 6.
Now, cut 6. Now, everybody watching, you're like, okay, y'all are boring the heck out of me, and we showed you the actual contract and that it keeps pointing to the 2016 DOTD. Roads and bridges, that is basically the contract, that dictates the contract, the specs, that covers everything. So we took the time and we went ahead and we looked up the 2016 DOTD roads and bridges specs and contracts. We looked it up.
Yeah.
So right here in cut 6 in section 108.11, it reads, and Rex, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Number 4 says restraining orders or injunctions obtained by third-party citizen action resulting from national or local environmental protection laws, or where the issuance of such order or injunction is primarily caused by acts or omissions of persons or agencies other than the contractor. And so this would be a reason for termination, could include that reason right there. And reading on down further, no claim for loss of anticipated No claim for loss of anticipated profits will be considered. Reimbursement for organization of the work and other overhead expenses when not otherwise included in the contract, and moving blah blah blah. We'll get to the rest of that here in a minute. But let's go back to this: no claim for loss of anticipated profits will be considered, because that's important.
Yeah. So when you're going through this, if you'd considered stopping the project, like, Ruttenbuck said 8 figures. Nobody followed up with a second question.
Jacobs went off on to infinity and how it gave his legal dissertation on how this would potentially cost the city.
Yeah. And in this section, I don't know if you showed it, and I don't know if you can zoom back out and screen. I screwed up this cut to show the whole part of it. I don't know if it shows the top part of it. Termination of contract.
Right.
When you start getting into termination of contract and ways of the contract ending, this is where it starts right here at 108.11. And I went through this and I highlighted the parts to point out the different ways, and this may not be completely applicable. In fact, I think the next section is more applicable than this, but if by chance this section is applicable, then here's the fine points of it. And specifically, anticipated profits, and whether they're considered or whether they're not considered, and the expenses. It starts getting into detail, and this is the DOTD contract. This is what the city of Bossier or, Manchac, whoever, obviously it wasn't the council and Jacobs because I don't think any of them have read it. This is what they all agreed to.
It is, but again, I want to point out that Jacobs, he did leave a little wiggle room where I'm paraphrasing, but he kind of said potentially could cost us to infinity or whatever his choice of wording was. So, Charles, I just want to let you know we're happy, not really, to be doing your job for you and point out that you don't have to worry about it costing to infinity for anticipated loss of profits. Okay.
So where we're going with this is so since DOTD rules or standards or whatever control this contract, and what do those rules say, regarding the termination of contracts or what have you, because again, our understanding is that councilmen were told that it was going to cost them $10 million in penalties if they cut the contracts off. So we wanted to know, does it or does it not? And we went down that rabbit trail. Mm-hmm. So, I guess this is cut 7.
Yes, cut 7.
108.12.
Yes.
And obviously, go ahead.
Well, I was going to go ahead and read it. It says termination of contract for convenience. The department, and remember they said anytime they refer to DOTD, that means the same as City of Bossier for the purposes of the contract and this DOTD document. So the city may, by written notice, terminate the contract or any portion thereof for the city's convenience and without cause.
Now, nowhere in the 59 pages that we got, mm-hmm. and nowhere in the DOTD contract does it say anything about any $10 million penalty or cost. It doesn't say any. That's not nowhere in there, anywhere. Nothing.
Not anywhere that I saw, and you spent more time reading it than I did, and I don't think you saw it either.
Now, when we're talking about all this, we're talking about true cost. Look, you can't expect a contractor to rig up and rig down and or buy materials to complete a project and not be paid for that expense and then just have to eat it. No, nobody expects that.
Right.
But it's the true cost. So has this company actually, in fact, in that video, that we had of Ruttenbuck earlier, he talked about, and if we go to the council meeting, 11/30/2021, I think he even talks about it. We showed the 8 digits where he said that, but then he also talked about, he said their expense was mobilization. Well,
yeah. What timestamp did you want me to go to?
I don't think I put it in the notes, but you ain't got to go there. Okay. We'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
Mobilization, the bottom line is if the city had expenses in materials, those materials were already going to be used, and per the contract with the DOTD, you were going to use those materials anyway.
Well,
so
hold on a second.
If you had to reimburse.
Hold on a second, because our buddy Ben just called in, and he wants to talk about the mobilization and demobilization. Actually, no, he didn't. He didn't call in. I got it pulled up in the timestamp, but here we go. That would have been so much fun.
Dang, you faked me out here. All right, bring him in. Let's do it.
I know. No, we're only at 54 people, so here we go.
Ruttenbuck, if you're watching, brother, come on.
Yeah,
come in here and explain it.
We can't wait any longer. If we do, JB James is going to have to demobilize, which will cost the city money, and then they're going to have to remobilize, which will cost city money.
Whoop, wait a minute. Let's hear that again. That's worth hearing twice.
We can't wait any longer. If we do, JB James is going to have to demobilize, which will cost the city money, and then they're gonna have to remobilize, which will cost city money.
You know what I just figured out? Rutten Buck could do Cadillac commercials. He could take, what's that actor's name? Matthew McConaughey. He could take his place and just do Cadillac commercials.
That dude could sell an Escalade like nobody's business, I'm gonna tell you.
Exactly. All right, so y'all heard him, folks. The city can't wait any longer. Now, granted, we backed up to November the 30th, a few weeks ago, but the city can't wait any longer. J.B. James, they might demobilize and then have to remobilize, costing the city money. The only problem is that's not what the contract says there, Rutten Buck. Again, it's like they all had talking points.
And according to the DOTD, which is the specs and the contract, rules right there. I mean, it was, y'all seen it earlier, only paid for materials on site, only the things that are on site or whatever are basically all that the city of Bossier was going to have to pay for. But again, in addition to that, I mean, which if J.B. James had every track hoe and bulldozer and welding machine and everything they had, if they had all of it sitting on location, ready to go and already mobilized to the location, you know what? I can understand. They bore a cost for that.
Right.
It should be paid for it. But I challenge anybody to ride up and down the road there and send me a picture of where all that equipment is.
Yeah.
Show me where it's at and show me what the cost that they bore of that. Supplies, the materials, show me where that's at on site, because the DOTD thing points out that, only paid for materials on site, and if, let's just say J.B. James has already bought all the materials and they're just sitting there at, let's say, the concrete place or the precast place, let's say all those materials are just sitting there. You know what? That's a valid bill. That's a valid bill for the city of Bossier to have to pay for, right?
Right.
So does it go to waste? What if the city of Bossier has to pay for that? If they have $8 billion or 8 digits worth of materials, I mean, is that a penalty or an extra charge that Rutten Buck just said at that council meeting?
Well, I don't think in that scenario, I don't think the city's going to take all that stuff to the landfill and dump it. It'll get used in the project once the project gets started back up, or let's say they just decided hypothetically to just cancel the Walter O. Bigby carriageway completely. Those materials could be repurposed somewhere else. I mean, we do have plenty of roads to fix around here in plenty of areas.
So I'm going to say, do you think, Rex, that the councilman and the city attorney all were getting led correctly by Rutten Buck?
No, here's what I think again. And so let me look straight in the camera, straight at all the city councilmen who are either watching at the moment, have their family or friends are watching, or you're going to watch this later, or whatever the scenario is. Why do two amateur pundits / amateur journalists, we're just Facebook journalists, so to speak, have to do this homework for y'all? Why? Y'all should have already had a copy of the contract sitting there when you knew what the agenda was and what was going to be addressed at the darn city council meeting, so that when Rutten Buck got up there and fed y'all a line of BS, or Jacobs got up there and fed y'all a line of BS, or King David himself, you could have called them all out. Come on, folks. I mean,
but
if we can get this, y'all can. Yeah. Nobody was ready with a follow-up. Yeah, nobody was ready with the follow-up.
But why is that? And I would beg the question. So if you're a taxpayer of the city of Bossier and you're going to fund this boondoggle called Walter O. Bigby Carriageway, why are you not calling your councilman and asking them, why the hell are you not trying to fix this? Why did you not do this?
Yeah, and you bring up another good point. We can't, as much as I want to get on my soapbox and absolutely will about our city councilmen so far, the real problem is right now we're showing a contract that basically not very many people in this city government have seen, and we've got 59 people watching. So I would challenge these 59. I mean, we can talk about the church. We could pull in 200 people. Easy.
It's 59 on Facebook.
If
I
I
don't know how many on the other.
Yeah, that's true. But if I mention First Bossier about 3 more times, we'll probably end up with double digits. We're sitting here talking about a $30 million project, and we appreciate everybody that's watching. Don't take this the wrong way. But we need more people that are interested in this. So I challenge everybody that's watching, if you're a resident of Bossier City, email all the councilmen, not just your councilmen. Email every single one of them with a personalized email. Ask them about this stuff. Try to show up at the meetings. And the worst case, tag a friend. We need more people paying attention to this. It's $30 million.
If your councilman voted to shut Shed Road down because they were led to believe that the city was going to incur a penalty of $10 million, if they didn't do it, do you think that your councilman got a good description of the current situation? And if they did, I mean, if that was a good description of the current situation, then Lord forbid what they're going to do on all the other expenditures of the city, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
Rex, I'll tell you this. I talked to a professional. He looked over the contract, looked over everything, knows the situation, and it was described to me as being malfeasance at best.
At best.
At best.
And folks, when Duke says professional, we literally mean in this type of business.
So, for all of you watching, I mean, your councilman, they have not looked at this contract. I would, maybe one, maybe two have actually looked at this contract. I can't
Right.
say for 100% that they haven't, but I can tell you that the majority of them have not seen this contract. We had to do this. And that's the problem with government. Our elected officials, there's too much crap. Government moves too fast. They're too much in a hurry to get things done. They are not looking at the fine details. They're relying on people to give them valid information, and they get invalid information, and then are stuck after that, after they go along with the invalid information. If they try to go the other direction on it, they're an accomplice to it. And I say it that way intentionally because then they're trapped. But the whole reason, and I'll go back to, and if you're one of those elected officials, and this goes from the Cypress District, this goes from the police jury, Bossier City Council, it goes from all of them. I mean, you got into this and you ran from the beginning to do right by the people, to make a difference, and to do good. And don't feel like just because you made a mistake that that's the end of you, or that you can't correct it and you can't make a difference. That's bull crap. I mean, just because you made a mistake doesn't mean you're dead forever. What matters is whether or not you go along with the mistake forever.
Yeah, and look, some people will point out that, the only thing we do on this show is talk about the bad stuff and never any of the good stuff. I'll say it again, Duke. Correct me if I'm wrong on my thinking here, but this show is not to go see Betty Sue's pretty flower garden down there. That's for the Bossier beautification deal. This show is to keep an eye out on Bossier, specifically the political happenings that are going on, and point out the things that are wrong. Not because Duke and I are perfect, not because Duke and I are professionals, because apparently we're the only ones that seem to be able to do it, other than some of the other media sometimes, and we need to discuss some more of that too, but maybe not tonight. So I would go back to challenging everybody that's watching. We're going to have a copy of this contract posted. Email a link to it to your city councilman, and for that matter, the rest of them. Let's see how many emails we can stick in their inboxes.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm thinking that we need to have a forensic audit, Rex. Me and you will talk about that after the show.
Yeah, there's been some irregularities in the voting going on, and
But maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know.
I want to repeat one more time. We
You
don't
may
have
be
time.
dead to some people, but
Yeah, well, see, that was going to be the title for the next show. We're
did
dead.
I screw it up?
No,
I
not
screwed
really.
it
I
up.
can still make it the title. I've got the
You-
perfect illustration for that too. But
I'm wondering if when somebody says that you're dead to them, what do y'all think? What does that mean?
I mean, this is like relationship breakup time or something. I don't know. It was
Is
crazy.
is it because you went too far in exposing what's going on in the real world? You've let the public know too much. You're dead to me now.
Oh,
because you did
somebody got their, and forgive me because I know this is not politically correct, in the last 10 years now to say things like this, but somebody got their dadgum panties in a wad. And so let me just say this. We are absolutely part of the noise. We are trying to be as loud as we can possibly be, and we're going to get noisier. And we have no problem calling anybody out. And if you don't like it, you're welcome on the show.
Absolutely. Come on the show and let's debate it. Tell us we're wrong. And you know what? You prove to me and you debate me and you say that I'm wrong and you prove that I'm wrong. I'll accept it.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll go with it. But Rex, you pointed out something and I was neglect to go here. We should have done it earlier in the show. And you said we're always focusing on the negative. And, for the most part, you're right. And we do because nobody else does. They want to post this, all this
Let me cut you off.
smoke and mirrors crap.
Let me cut you off for just a second.
Mark Smith says we're wrong. Mark Smith says we're wrong.
Okay, that's it. We must be wrong. So let me just point this out. Here's a good illustration. Preachers love to do illustrations and all that in their sermons. So here's a good illustration. If we had posted some show notes or a teaser for the show that we were going to talk about the beautiful new soccer field at First Bossier, how many viewers do you think we would have had? And I know the soccer field's not that new, but still, how many viewers do you think we really would have had?
You just say First Bossier and that's pushing 100.
Well, true, but we wouldn't have had 200. And that's the key difference.
No, we
right
wouldn't
there.
have 200. No, we wouldn't have. True.
So, but if we talk about the Jerry Springer-esque stuff going on, then yeah, we get 200 people watching.
We do. Mark Smith, elaborate. We're wrong. We encourage the challenge. But with that said, so
Hey, I appreciate Mark at least being his own grammar police. That's cool.
yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
But Rex, on the good side of things, okay, how many folks traveled down Benton Road within the last week? How many of you? Sign off, say, I traveled down Benton Road. And
Pick me.
did you notice the same thing that I noticed on Benton Road? We don't always throw rocks. We do throw,
Sometimes
I
good
lost-
things. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
What did you know? Now, I did notice something several days, a week ago. There were some folks carrying a cross down Benton Road. Did you happen to see those?
I did see those, and there was like one guy that was a high achiever. I seen the post on Facebook.
All right.
Don't remember his name. Maybe I should have paid attention to his name. I didn't. But the thing that I noticed on Benton Road is that it was the cleanest that I can remember it being in the last probably 20 to 30 years. I mean,
Really?
it was last week I saw, and I'll credit Mayor Tommy Chandler. That was one of the things. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's got a long way to go because he made a lot of commitments on things he was going to do. But I will say this. He made a commitment. He said, I'm going to diligently work to clean up Bossier City. And I can tell you, I saw the street sweepers. I seen dude, it must have been an army. 10, 12, 13.
You saw
13.
the street sweepers.
I seen them, and I seen the guys. They were all up and down Benton Road, and they were freaking cleaning Benton Road up. I'm talking about.
Well, but here I got to challenge you on this though. You can't give Tommy all the credit. Some of the credit
Well,
has
that's
to go
true.
to Miss Ann Timmers. If you're not familiar with Miss Ann Timmers, just go read the Benton Town happenings and all that Facebook group and all that. And like every comment she's made for the last several months, she's even emailed us directly, has been do something about the roads, clean up the roads. Every time the police jury posts something, she comments about cleaning up the roads. It had to have been the pressure of Miss Ann Timmers
I agree.
to Tommy Chandler to get those street sweepers out there.
Ann Timmers, kudos to you for citizen action. Maybe you should be the cockroach of the week. But Rex, Kaylee Larkin points out that all of the freaking sand up and down Benton Road. Now, you and I
Almost
threw a
spit my
rock
tea
out
out.
there. I know. It ain't like that's anything new. Sorry, Kaylee. Before you participate in our show, we threw rocks out there about that. And Bossier Parish Police Jury coming out of the sand plant. I mean, they've got a DOTD division of the Bossier Parish Police Jury, but yet they are unconcerned about the silicosis that may be exposed to all the residents with all them houses up and down Benton Road
But
traveling
it's not just
all
the
the way into Bossier
silicosis.
City and then getting on 220. They don't care.
It's not just that. It's the sandblastinosis of everybody's vehicles too. And
Well,
I just made
sandblast.
that. I just made that up.
You did make that up. I mean, look, it is sandblasting vehicles every day. When y'all come down Benton Road, coming to Bossier City or to Shreveport, hit 220, and all that big dust cloud in there, y'all just need to know that your vehicles are being sandblasted. So the next time you try to polish your vehicle out, it's not going to have the luster that it did. Why is that? It's because when those trucks go into that sand plant, and I'm not knocking the sand plant because I am an oil and gas guy and I don't want to throw a rock at them, but the sand facility has the obligation to make sure that truck before it leaves the facility, is in control of their load. We reported it to the police jury. I have yet to this day see the police jury take any action on regulating those trucks coming out of that sand plant to making sure that their load is secured. Because I come through there every morning coming to town, and there will be sand rolling off the top of those boxes, out onto the roadway, out onto the cars. And if I live in those subdivisions, all of you living up and down Benton Road there in those subdivisions, you might ought to be concerned about silicosis because that sand travels through the air, it's conveyed, and you may be inhaling it. And after a period of time of inhaling it, you could end up with silicosis down the road. But
Good.
police jury's been told about it. They know.
Or painting
So
your
if
car.
nothing's
One of the
enforced,
two.
then that's on them.
Well, Ashley Lee says they did patch 2 potholes today at Benton and I-20. 99 million potholes to go. Shane Cheatham, I put the comment up a minute ago. He says, shout out to Wade and his team for working hard on cleaning up the city. And I'm making a little bit of joke about all that. But yeah, you're right, Shane. If this was the city crews out there cleaning it up, good for them. Let's see.
Yeah, we don't want to take nothing away. They cleaned Benton Road up. They did a good job. I'm impressed. I mean, and it's not all of Benton Road. In front of my driveway, there's a big freaking chunk of concrete sitting out in the front of it. And I got to tell you, if a car hits it, it's going to take the front end out of their car. But I'm not calling the councilman or the mayor because I don't want nobody to say, hey, Bossier Watch tried to get something done on their business. I hate to say it, let it take out the front of a car. I hope it doesn't hurt nobody. I really don't want it to. But if it does, then it will make somebody address that problem up and down there. But no way in.
If we
freaking
call
hell,
them, they're just going to dig their heels in and move slower, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, they may drop a truckload of concrete out there.
All right. So it looks like we're basically at the end of our notes, aren't we?
We are.
Wow.
We are going to show, if anybody wants to review to make sure that we are correct, on the DOTD standards. Rex, I shared a link in the notes. We'll share that as well in the afterwards if folks want to go and vet everything that we said.
Yeah.
It's there, all for your viewing. If you're a councilman and you voted the way you voted because you were told that there was going to be a $10 million penalty, well, I'm just wondering what you're going to have to say the next council meeting. I mean, were you sold a bill of goods? Maybe you need to make a phone call and say, show me in black and white where it was going to cost Bossier City $10 million for us to put a halt on this project. In fact,
between 10 million and infinity.
10 million and infinity. In fact, I want to see you to exactly point out every dollar that it was going to cost. I want you to put it in black and white. I think, oh, wait a minute. That's Ruttenbuck. That's who you got to call, right?
Yeah.
Call them and ask them. Make them point it out to you.
Yeah. If you can get him out of the way from doing the Cadillac commercials.
Prove us wrong. Please prove us wrong. Prove us wrong.
We very well could be wrong. We are Facebook lawyers. We are Facebook contractors, and so we could have missed something. Again, we just got this information today, too, so we could have missed something. So, again, we challenge all of y'all to, send a copy of this to your city councilman, tag some friends. A lot of it is kind of boring reading through it, but hey, when you have nothing else to do in life, read through it for a few minutes, make sure that we got it right.
And if there's no response whatsoever, then that means that either your councilman didn't take the initiative to read into it, but we want them to prove us wrong. Send to us, councilman, send to us, do your research, send to us the information to prove us wrong. That's what we want. Show us that you weren't sold a bill of goods, that you weren't misled by Ruttenbuck and Manchac, and prove us wrong. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Send it to us.
Yeah, we've done the hard work for you, Duke especially, and so we're going to share that document out. And I guess that's really about it for this evening.
That is it for this evening. Next Tuesday, Rex, Cypress Black Bayou, we're going to do a deep dive on the bridge and maybe a little more. And if the council decides to do anything radical, hopefully revisiting Shed Road,
maybe some of our councilmen will grow a pair and actually ask about some of this. All right. So, and Jimmy Richardson says, as we kind of close out, I was counting on Mysterious Mark to explain what y'all are wrong on. I don't understand. It's not like y'all are making stuff up. Why would anyone not want to know? That's a very good question, Jimmy. Again, tag your friends. They don't have to watch all the show. They can watch the show after the fact. You can watch this show or listen to it while you're watching something else, but at least be a little bit informed.
But Jimmy Richardson, you got to consider it depends on what law office Mark Smith is enunciating from.
Yeah, remember he's the mysterious Mark Smith. So, okay, let's wrap this thing up. Ashley Lee, we might have a Louisiana Watch Thursday. We'll see.
I think we are, Rex. They had a council meeting. They had a council meeting today, and as you know, the Louisiana Secretary of State, he is committed to come on the show. We've got the Attorney General. He's committed to come on the show. Greg Tarver, he had already told me he's going to come on the show. We got some more stuff cooking on the Shreveport stuff. Yeah. We're going to have a Louisiana Watch.
Okay, sounds like a plan. We will do a Louisiana Watch Thursday evening. All right, folks, we're out of here. If you hadn't already, subscribe to Louisiana Watch too, but we cross-post it, so you'll still get the notifications here. Remember, Bossier Watch at Proton Mail. If you have some information you want to share to us, and stay anonymous, don't put any identifying information. If you're really worried, sign into a VPN, then do Proton Mail. We're going to keep digging, keep looking into all this, share out what we can when we can. That's it for tonight.
Good night.